Tonight on Reel to Reel, we'll visit a restaurant run by some very special people.
And meet a psychotherapist with a message for the middle class.
And we'll see what the women monk of Conception Abbey does.
And Father Walt Nolan will join us.
Talk about the shortage of priests in our Do You Know segment.
Hello, I'm Monsignor Charles Minorm.
And I'm Sean Hughescamp. Welcome to this edition of Reel to Reel.
It's a little better than 25 years now since the dioceses in Delaware Valley began to reach out to a wonderful group of people who up to that point really have been denied many opportunities.
And tonight's first story shows us just how far we've come. There's a restaurant in Westville Grove, New Jersey that has a large menu and good food, but more importantly, they're an equal opportunity employer. And this story will show you just how important that is. What makes this restaurant different from any others in the Delaware Valley? It's clean, the food is good, the atmosphere is pleasant, and the prices are reasonable. So what makes this place so special? It's the people who work here. The restaurant is called the Granada Room, and it's located here at St. John of God Community Services on Delsea Drive in Westville Grove, New Jersey. The people who work here are trainable and educable mentally retarded adults participating in a food services training program. John Mishi started this program 11 years ago to train mentally handicapped adults for employment in the food services industry. Having owned several restaurants of his own, John brought over 20 years of experience with him to this project.
We have several meaningful skills in our program. We have a salad making department, we have a baking department, we have a delicatessen, we have commercial dishwashing, we have sandwich making, several high-functioning skills in our area. Now what we do is when we receive a new student in, we start them out slow on the skills that are not too complicated, then bring them up to where the potential lies. And once we find out where the potential lies, then we put the emphasis on that area.
Under his supervision, the students today learn numerous skills while working in the Granada Room's top-notch kitchen.
I have a student with me from 1 year to 1 year and 3 months. If the potential is there, we get it out of them. After a year and 3 months, we seek competitive employment. We have been very successful in that area. 28 young adults have moved outside. They're no longer a tax burden. They have a better image of themselves. By having the Granada Room, it gave them the opportunity to show us their skills. The first success story is when I first placed 2 young ladies in Strawbridges and Clody in Cherry Hill. And they were very, very understanding because the transition is the biggest part of placing a handicapped child into competitive employment. They split the job in 2, and they made it 20 hours apiece. They made it overlap so they would know someone while they were working there. We also have several other success stories. There's one working in a Hyatt house, there's 2 working in Greenbrier East Nursing Home, and I can go on and on.
Do you think that your clients learn more than job skills?
Our number 1 goal is socialization. Teaching them a trade on my list is number 7. We have breaking them out of his shell, giving them a well-rounded personality. It's only human nature when you start a new job that you feel a little reluctant to speak out, you feel a little lost. We get that all out of them. And number 7 is teaching them a trade. Socialization, mainstreaming them with other people, that's number 1 on our list.
Hello, how are you?
Pretty good, thanks. So?
2?
Yes, please.
Booth all right?
Thank you.
All right. Have you ever been here before?
No, never.
You have a
Been on the
hostess
other
who
side.
seats the patrons, and then she explains to them that most of our clients are not waitresses. We do not train them in waitressing because that's not realistic. We train them in taking the order back. So we tell the patron who's coming in to fill out the guest check, put the number down and the item that they're choosing and the number of their table. And then it's forwarded back in the back. We have a short order cook back there, a work supervisor. They prepare all the food, and the trainees bring it back to the patron.
Although many of the customers are staff members and volunteers from St. John of God Center, the restaurant is open to the public for breakfast and lunch every Monday through Friday. According to Brother Declan Donegan, acting director of St. John of God Community Services, this has been beneficial to the surrounding community.
The food services program itself is an ideal medium through which the community can get involved and see our students at work on a day-to-day basis. And I think it dispels for many of them the myth that mentally retarded people are totally dependent people who must always need help and guidance and care for the rest of their lives, and that they can't really contribute and be productive members of society. I think that myth is dispelled very powerfully by having them come in and sit down and enjoy a meal and be served by a mentally retarded person.
I think it's very nice. Everything's nice and bright, and the people are very friendly here, and they want you to have a nice time while you're eating. For a little place, this is the best.
Well, I prepare the salad bar, work on a salad bar, a little combination of everything. I serve the food to the people. I love it.
Teresa D'Amato has worked in the Granada Room for nearly a year.
Oh, I hope to get a job from this, the outside world. And I hope to become like my sisters, Marianne and Rosemary. They're waitresses. I hope to become like them. You know, and I really, really like this job a lot.
Paula Bates works part-time in a Howard Johnson's restaurant, as well as the Granada Room.
People that help me bring my up my experience doing this, and it's much easier if I learn here than if I go out in the real world and help, you know, in the restaurant business.
Just the love that's here, very nice, kind, considerate people, very nice atmosphere to work at. I think it's motivation. They get a feel for work in general, prepare themselves to go on the outside.
Steve McGonigal was trained in the food services program 6 years ago. Today, he's a full-time employee in the Granada Room's baking department.
I love of being here, of being able to help the other clients, the other students, and being able to share them certain things, and that's the most gratifying thing to me.
By my experience in the 10 years I've been associated with it, I'm very gratified to see what the finished product. To bring a client or a trainee in here that doesn't know dough from cement and to see them get a job in food service and make $3.35 or $3.45 an hour is very gratifying to us here. Seeing a handicapped person who at one time in their life, that's all they had to do was watch TV. Today they're working, they're making a living, some of them drive, some have their own charge plates. Very useful human beings. It's like a dream that came true.
The Granada Room is open 5 days a week for breakfast and lunch. So if you're going through Westville Grove, stop by and enjoy a meal and see this unique restaurant in operation.
Stay tuned for the rest of Reel to Reel. Coming up, Father Walt Nolan answers your questions in our Do You Know series. And in People and Places, we'll meet the weather monk of Conception Abbey.
ever thought there may be a time when here in the United States we would have to import priests from other countries because we are so short of priests ourselves? Hi, I'm Father Walt Nolan. We recently traveled to St. Joseph's University and talked to some college students there to find out some of the questions that are on their mind. Tonight we have a question from Bill Hobbs.
With the current church opposition to married clergy and women priests, what other alternatives are there to alleviate the current shortage of vocations?
It's a timely question, Bill. In fact, a few priest friends of mine have posed the same thoughts sitting around the table. Tonight I'd like to share a few thoughts of mine with you and see if that clarifies it for us. One of my thoughts, Bill, is that we should all try to affirm and encourage the priests that already work in our parishes, the priests that are already involved with our lives. I've experienced myself, and I think other priests have also, that there's been somewhat of a role change in our priesthood. Priests today are more like the spiritual director of the parish. The priests are the enabler of the whole parish to come together as a churched people, as a people of God. While there may be less priests available for us these days, the Spirit of God seems to be opening up vast areas of mission and mystery in our church. The Spirit of God is calling all of the baptized to be part of the priesthood of our Lord Jesus Christ. We're all called to be perfect, so we might as well share that perfection with each other. Certainly the Vatican Council and the new Code of Canon Law talks about the fundamental equality and the dignity of all of the people of God, of all those baptized. Therefore, what are we saying? We're really saying that the parish vision is not the Lone Ranger type. It's not just where the priest does all the work himself, but he's calling on, and the Lord is calling on all of us to share that responsibility. We have a renewed institute of the diaconate, where men are coming from their families, are being ordained, and are carrying on some of the work that the priests used to carry on. Some of the work of preaching, some of the work of baptizing, and some other areas of mission. The laity have been asked and have assumed an awful lot of the responsibility of carrying on the church work. I know many of the lay people that are actually studying theology in some of our schools and bringing back their knowledge and their own family expertise to bring a greater growth of the people of God. Some lay people that I know are working with youth on our own campus and many campuses in the area. Lay people are doing some of that work. There are many programs, too, that are coming to the forefront these days. The Renew program in some of our parishes. There's a calling ministry where when new people come into the area, parish members go out and greet them and welcome them to that parish. There are marriage and couple-to-couple experiences where young people and some that are married for a few years may enjoy some of the sharing that goes on. What I'm really saying, Bill, to answer your question, is that the church today is looking for all of the talents, all of the prayer, all of the goodness that's in all of us, and allowing that church to be the people of God. I'm not too sure what the future holds, but what I would ask all of us to do is to pray certainly for our priests and for future priests, but pray that all of us not only know our God, but experience our God. Bill, thanks very much for your question. If anyone else has a question you'd like to write in, please write to Father Walt Nolan. Do you know? Room 907, 222 North 17th Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19103. Thanks again. Hope to see you next time.
Soon it's gonna rain, I can see it. Soon it's gonna rain, I can tell. Soon it's gonna rain, what are we gonna do?
We're in what they call Tornado Alley. Here we have probably on the average 18 to 20 days during a year that we'd have severe thunderstorms or possible threat of tornadic activity.
Whenever there's a threat of severe weather at Conception Abbey in northern Missouri, all of the monks head for shelter. Well, almost all of them. Benedictine brother Damian Larson heads straight up to one of the Abbey towers, where he can be sure to see every cloud. Affectionately known in the area as the Weather Monk, Brother Damian has been officially recording his weather observations for the Abbey and for the National Weather Service since 1968.
But we have an excellent advantage. I think we had the best observation area here in the whole county. We can see a good 15 miles in either direction. And we can really observe and really make rather good judgments, just the location of a storm over a very large area of the county.
The Abbey has been keeping a daily account of local temperatures and precipitation since 1894. It's from these records that Brother Damian makes his predictions.
August was terrifically hot again, about 18 days of 100 degrees or more, only 2 inches of rain.
Brother Damian has gained a reputation in the county for his weekly newspaper column, which features commentary on local weather trends and always a quip from his original characters, the monk and the weather rooster. He's also featured on KNIM radio, where his weather predictions are broadcast live twice every day.
What we have this morning is a high-pressure area centered over the southern Rockies. It's going to move eastward.
Although Brother Damian keeps busy with his weathercasting, the majority of his time is spent in his position as groundskeeper for the Abbey. Here he devotes many hours nurturing the orchards and the Christmas tree farm on the 100-acre campus.
Everything that God created is good. You get that from Genesis. And when you look at the weather, as I do every day when I'm working, you can see how it works. There's a perfect harmony in nature, you know, with the trees, the plants, the animals. They got a balance there. Sometimes it gets rather severe, sometimes it's beautiful, but you can see that it's all very important.
It's a sunshine life for me. If I could get away from this cloud that's over me, seems to just follow me around.
If we didn't have a little rainfall in our life would become a desert. So we have to have a few problems in life to make our life worthwhile for us to grow.
And it's a good life had for free when you're out in the country. That's what I could use if I could get away there soon. It's a sunshine life for me. If I could get away from this cloud that's over me, seems to just follow me around.
There were a lot of people who would never cross the door of a church and never come to a retreat that we could reach in their homes in the low-threat medium of television.
Many of you who listen to religious radio in the Delaware Valley may already be familiar with the subject of our next story. He is the host of Breakthrough, a program which is broadcast the second Sunday of every month at 6:30 in the morning on station WFIL. Now, meet the man behind the voice.
High atop this hill overlooking the picturesque countryside of Hamden, Connecticut, is the beautiful mansion where silly putty was invented. Today, creative energies still flow from behind its doors, but of a much different nature.
Don't look to the rich man, fancy cars and pool. Don't look to the wise man who may really be the fool. Drop that wall around you, get a brand new start, for you possess the whole wide world right within your heart. Sweet, sweet Jesus, oh, you know how I love.
This is just one of the innovative television programs produced here at the Pastoral Theological Institute, designed to help middle-class Americans fill the void in their spiritual lives. The concept is the brainchild of Dr. William Larkin, a Catholic psychotherapist. His unique ministry integrates psychology with Catholic spirituality.
My vocation? Really very simply, helping people touch the poverty in their lives that we oftentimes can cover up by all sorts of ways of thinking we're very satisfied and happy. By helping people touch the spiritual poverty in their lives and really discover that anything that is good comes from the hands of God, that is from the grace of God.
Once an avowed atheist, Dr. Larkin converted to Roman Catholicism while pursuing his doctorate in psychology and theology at Harvard University. He struggled with how he would incorporate what he knew about psychology with what he was learning spiritually. So in 1975, he established the Pastoral Theological Institute after hearing Mother Teresa speak about the different kinds of poverty in today's world.
And she went on to say, as she talked with the students at commencement, that she felt that the greatest poverty was the poverty of loneliness and emptiness, that the greatest poverty was the poverty of being unwanted. And I realized that, that in most of the people that I was seeing in therapy, that I was not seeing those who were materially poor. I was seeing those who were really very poor in another way.
Poured that adrenaline.
Elaine McHugh is one of many patients helped by Dr. Larkin's method of Catholic psychotherapy.
I've been able, since I've come here, to relax my body physically and to relax my mind spiritually, that I can really put myself in God's hands and trust in Him and know that the Spirit of God really comes upon me and helps me.
Although his practice rapidly grew into retreats and seminars, Dr. Larkin realized that there were still thousands who needed to come to grips with the poverty of their own spiritual lives. So a year ago, he took to the airwaves.
The Pastoral Theological Institute presents The Spirit and the Bride with Dr. William Larkin, president of the Institute. Dr. Larkin is a Christian psychotherapist integrating psychology and theology in the inner healing ministry. He holds a master's degree from Yale.
There were a lot of people who would never cross the door of a church and never come to a retreat that we could reach in their homes in the low-threat medium of television. Each week, inevitably, we reach that one person, and it's much more than one at this point, that we would get to in no other way.
All of the television programs are produced, edited, and distributed by a handful of PTI members and volunteers, none of whom had formal training in broadcast production. But from a dingy cement garage comes much artistic creativity. Grace Marquet, who left a successful singing career to join the PTI staff, writes and performs all of the songs for the programs.
Put your trust in the Lord where your fears are. He's waiting to hear you say.
It really changed my life completely. It put priorities in order. It made me come to see that what was important in life was knowing Jesus Christ and trying to walk with Him.
Lord, I believe, help my unbelief. Come, heal my heart today.
George Bosson, Director of Communications and Outreach, joined PTI 3 years ago.
I think the people of America are really starving people. The Institute is an institute that serves the poverty of the middle-class person, and that's a poverty of not knowing God, not knowing the true presence of God in their life.
I think there's so oftentimes a void in being able to relate the power and the life of the sacraments to the ordinary, everyday struggles that people go through. We ritualize it, we liturgize it, but we don't seem, in many cases, to really make what people are participating in ritual and liturgy really applicable to everyday life.
Dr. Larkin calls the television end of his ministry Mary Song Communications because of the Institute's strong devotion to Mary as Mother of the Church. The staff begins each day by saying the Rosary together.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus.
I really began to take a look at who Mary is in the life of faith, and just sort of inwardly began to understand that. Began to understand it later in terms of issues of trust, object relations, mothering, some of the more complex psychological issues that we look at, and began to realize that this woman of the life of faith has a far more important part of a faith life than we realize. The Church has proclaimed that for thousands of years, And it's interesting that it was really kind of a psychological understanding of the place of mothering that brought me into an understanding of the place of Mary in the life of faith.
Whether through television, retreats, or private counseling, Dr. Larkin encourages his audience to take a look at what they believe about their faith life. Only through this awareness can they be freer to share the fullness of their lives in Christ with all denominations.
I think what people are discovering is that the life of faith helps them discover how they are a part of unfolding creation. The creation is not just a static, set thing, that there is a plan of God that's unfolding, and that when they get in tune with that, their existence begins to take on meaning. That what I would hope most is that people who encounter us touch the real poverty of their lives, because the only way we're going to help anybody who is poor is to be able to identify with our own poverty. And our limits and our walls and our lack of ability are the very areas that are the inroads to growth into faith.
What a surprise and perhaps frightening thing to think that there are people among us who look at the rest of us as another world or other people or a real world. They are afraid to enter our place. But no more surprising that so many of us, too, look at spirituality as being somebody else's world. And as a matter of fact, that's our real world.
Next time on Real to Real, we'll meet some religious who are reaching out to the separated and divorced.
And we'll visit with some lay people who are reaching out to homeless children around the world.
We'll also meet a priest who has discovered a unique way to spread the good news.
And we'll see another priest who shares some touching memories of his mother.
We've enjoyed being with you tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Good night, and God bless you.